Hey, so I'm going to go over some information about Google Forms. So first off, let's create a new form. So if you didn't notice that, I just right-clicked and did form and click it. And you can come over here and do blank or from a template if you have templates. You can also come up here and click new form, blank form, or from a template. The first thing you ought to do is name it. So this is the form. This is what you start out with. Now, a form is used for surveys, for quizzes and exams, questionnaires, things like that. But there's a couple of important things to go over before you even really get into using it. So first off is the interface. So here is the name of the form. You can put a description here, and then you can start into questions or sections. This is on the questions part. This is if you are what they call a collaborator. And if you're a collaborator, you can also see the responses. These are, when someone responds to your questionnaire. But the other things you can look at are the themes. So like for instance, I can choose an image as a header, and I don't know, we'll go with this one here. This is probably used like a million times, but you can upload images from Google Drive, you can upload images from your computer, and you notice when you upload your images, the theme, it pulls some of the colors from that, and you can choose that for your theme colors. And you can choose these main colors, and then there's also background colors that you can change, along with font style. Now they only have a few font styles, and unfortunately the font styles that you see there are what you're stuck with for the whole thing. So like for instance, I can't change the font that's in here. See here, you see the large T and small t. It looks like you might be able to change the font because that's typically the icon that you would see for that, but you can't. That's for adding a title and description. So the font that's here, you can't change, basically. What you see is what you get. The only way you can add different font like bold, italics, things like that is by adding an image, like a screenshot of a written section of text. So at any rate, that's the theme. When you click this eyeball, you get a preview of what it would look like. So this is what your student or customer or whoever you're sending the questionnaire to, this is what they would see on their computer or tablet or device. And as you add more to the form, when you click the eyeball, you'll see more of it. Right now, I don't have anything in there except for the name, and so there's not much to show you. But that preview section is really nice because as you're making questions, you'll sometimes make questions that maybe don't look so great, or you're not sure if they look great, or they may look fine in the creator mode, but when you go into the actual form itself might look terrible. So it's always good to check that on occasion, and you can do that at any time just by clicking the preview eye. And then we've also got settings up here, and the settings part is important. Now if it's a quiz, I would recommend turning it on, so clicking make this a quiz, and at that point you can choose to either release the score immediately or release it later, which I would normally do release later because I always want to double check the questions to make sure that I haven't made a mistake. So like if I'm making an exam or a quiz for students and there's some sort of anomaly, there's something where every single student got wrong, even the best students that I have, I might look at that and say, did I do something incorrectly where it's marking it wrong for the students, as Google Forms can mark things automatically for you for certain questions. So I normally set it to later after manual review, but you might want it set to immediately. Other than that, depending on what it is, you might want to show students the questions that they missed, but if you're going to use it again, or if you're going to use the same quiz for multiple classes, you might not want to. If you're going to use it again as a makeup a day or two later, you might not want to show students the questions that they missed. And likewise, you might not want to show the correct answers as well. Usually I would want to show students point values though, however, so that they at least know which questions are the most crucial and critical ones, which ones they should spend more time on. When you come back here to presentation, I normally like to choose show progress bar. Sometimes I'll do shuffle question order if it's appropriate, but consider that if, for instance, let's say you've got a reading section and then questions which are in order, if you do shuffle question order, it's going to mix them up, and it might make the exam more difficult. Maybe that's what you want, maybe not. The whole purpose for shuffle question order, though, was simply to stop students from cheating as easily. And so if that's a concern, then you might want to make questions where the order doesn't matter and where you can shuffle them. I usually keep it unchecked, but I'll check show progress bar. Progress bar is exactly that. It's a progress bar, I think on the bottom, that shows you how many sections you have left. And then show link to submit another response. And I'll normally uncheck this because I don't want my students to be able to submit another response. Now, if it's a survey or a questionnaire, you might want to allow that. Finally, there's the confirmation message. So the default is your response has been recorded. You can change this to whatever you want. And so that when a student or your client or the person, whoever it is, clicks submit, they'll see this confirmation message pop up in front of them, and they know that it's been submitted. And going back here to general, normally I have collect email addresses checked, and that just on the response forms, it collects the email addresses, it takes it as a data point. Normally I'll also limit this to one response, but you might not want to do that, especially if it's a survey. You may want to allow more than one response if a person wants to spend the time to write more than one response. For quizzes and exams, I do not want respondents to edit after they submitted it or to see the summary charts and text responses, but for surveys or questionnaires, those two things might be appropriate. Especially on a survey, someone might think, I realized this after I hit submit, I'll go back in and open it up and change that. And so edit after submit might be appropriate in those cases. Same reason for summary charts and text responses. You might want to allow your respondents to see summary charts so that they know how other people answered those questions, but on a quiz or on an exam, you wouldn't want to do that. So at any rate, after selecting the appropriate boxes here, you click Save, and then you can get into the actual exam. And I'm going to pause this one for now and make it sort of a multi-video thing. So I'll hold you off right there, and we'll come back around in the next video, and we'll start going into the types of questions and sections and things like that.